Hello, everybody, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian. I'm here with Allison, and this is Maintaining Frame number 68. The top 5 ways Barbie is secretly a plastic handmaiden of the patriarchy. That's a mouthful. So we're going to be looking at a video by...
A mouthful in more ways than one.
Yeah. Oh, no. We're going to be looking at a video from a YouTube channel called Verilybitchie. Where the YouTube host, what do you call them? The person? The individual creating the YouTuber? Yeah, that's what we call it. The YouTuber is going to make the argument that Barbie, the movie, the toy, and everything around it is actually problematic plastic fake feminism that is not revolutionary or something.
Yes, and I'll get in here for a sec, and okay. When I watched the Barbie movie, I was coming from it from a very different, I think a different perspective than you were, Brian, because I had just finished reading sort of a bunch of samples of recent science fiction and fantasy as promoted by Goodreads, and the sheer amount of anti-male dystopia, like it essentially, when you think about a lot of these books, they're essentially, if you would take what, excuse me for invoking Godwin's law, but or even just let's go with communists. Okay. It's basically how communists portrayed the world under capitalist rule. Okay, so it's this idea of this absolute demonization of a group of people based on biological factors. So it's actually even worse than communism. It is more like Nazism, the way Nazis viewed Jewish rule. Except, in this scenario, it's men. So all of these dystopias are dystopias because, of course, they're ruled by men, and men are horrible. And this is every single book, or a great swath of them. And the main thrust of the book is either appropriating or destroying patriarchy. And it's just flat out misandry. Like just flat out. Oh, men are in power, therefore the world is awful. Because if you give men power, they don't use it to create a system of relative comfort and safety for everyone. They just use it to oppress everybody who doesn't look like them, which is women. So it was just this unending, and it was at the point where I would pick up a new, like I had all these samples on my Kindle, and I would finish a sample and I would be looking at the next book in the list, and I would be sick to my stomach over opening it.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to read any more of this crap about men. And all of it was men create horrible societies, women have to battle their way out of them. Like, they're basically just Handmaiden's Tale, which itself is complete nonsense. It's based on a biblical story that's really about the sexual subjugation of a man. Handmaiden's Tale in space, Handmaiden's Tale in Narnia, Handmaiden's Tale in the Middle Earth. All of this crap.
Bottom of the ocean, yeah.
Handmaiden's Tale in the bottom of the ocean. Handmaiden's Tale in the stomach of the celestial great white shark, whatever. Just basically Handmaiden's Tale in blah. And sometimes even worse and more uncharitable than the Handmaiden's Tale. So when I watched the Barbie movie, I was actually surprised it didn't give me PTSD at the end. It was from where I was standing, it was a breath of fresh air. And I know that sounds, and I'm not even saying that anybody shouldn't react negatively to it, because probably what's happening is I'm inured. And I was braced for the worst, and then the Barbie movie came up, and I'm like, wow, okay, so basically what you're saying is that patriarchy isn't that bad, honestly, because at the end they didn't overthrow the patriarchy, they actually appealed to the patriarch for things, and he was like, okay, well, if that makes money, sure. And it's like, well, geez, you built up nothing, and you went nowhere. And yes, everybody in every system has complaints. So who cares? Like you feel pressure for some reason in this system because you're a woman. Well, welcome to reality. This particular world is not heaven. It is some form of purgatory. So you're not going to completely enjoy it. You know, and honestly, if you were alive 150 years ago, you would have enjoyed it a hell of a lot less. So count your blessings.
Oh,
But
fuck
you know,
yeah.
so it ultimately amounted to not much of anything, just a big wet fart. Like,
Right.
nope, patriarchy continues.
So-
it's sometimes okay, sometimes it isn't. You know, whatever.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, what I'm hearing is that there is content even more hateful than that.
Oh,
Far
Oh,
worse
Brian.
than that. Yeah.
Brian.
The landscape
Oh.
is even more barren, is what
Yes.
you're saying. Yeah.
Yes, honestly, when you've read this stuff, you realize that the Barbie movie is not only more charitable towards men than what could be, it is also less not revolutionary at all. In the end, it's basically just like patriarchy exists, shrug your shoulders, move on. And it's not even like a revolutionary text, which, to be honest, really aggravated me. As an anarchist, I'm like, if you're going to propose that this system is a horrible system of systematic oppressions, shouldn't you end the movie with like punching the page or whatever? Like, it's such a
punching
freaking
Dr. Patriarchy right in the Professor Patriarchy right in the face. Does he have like
Yeah,
a
but this is
monocle
such
and a big mustache and a tweed
It's so
suit?
lukewarm. It was so lukewarm, the ending. And that's where I think this woman is coming from. It was just not radical enough. You know,
No,
it just,
that's it. Yeah.
everything just ended in the status quo. And it's
it
like,
didn't start the violent revolution where everything is burned down like she had hoped the Barbie movie would. It did.
Well-
All it did was it caused a bunch of people to break up and get divorced and stuff. But that's not a revolution. That's just life, guys.
that's just the status
That's just
quo.
that's just women reacting with status quo type reactions like breakups and divorce.
Okay, but look at it this way. Ultimately, it's revealed that Barbie Land, the great femtopia, is constructed by patriarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So the only way that they're going to have the femtopia is if patriarchs make it. Which, you know what, ladies? It's honest. That's true. Like, the only way you're going to have a society is if men make it.
Yeah.
And I know that feeling makes you really grind your teeth, but the Barbie movie is essentially accurate. You will never escape the work of men. The Barbie Land, the femtopia, will always be constructed by men at the behest of men and at men's ultimate forbearance. Okay?
Yeah.
You're just not going to get away from it.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And you actually, radical feminists have absolutely no plan to get away from it, because I don't even think the point is getting away from it. The point is just to make someone feel miserable about themselves. Anyway, so that's where I was coming from for the Barbie movie. So I get what she's talking about. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I understand her perspective. And so anyway, I wanted to say that, and I want to remind everyone that I am this is the final day for my fundraiser for The Captive Eye, which is my story that isn't anything like what I've seen in the landscape of fiction lately. That's not to say that it doesn't explore men doing bad things. It just doesn't say that they're bad because they're men. I think there's a nice distinction there. Okay, anyway, if you want to support that kind of not blanket male blaming, please go to feedthebadger.com/I, that's EYE, and help me out. Every bit is appreciated. I might have to do a bit of arm twisting today. We have about $320 left on this particular sub goal, and I'm just looking to see. We're down probably to the hour, so let me just double check.
All right. And those of you guys who are on Rumble, shout out to the Rumble gang. Just letting you know, what's up, dudes? I am working on a cool animation for Rumble. I think you guys are gonna like it. But it's still like a little ways off. Okay. Go ahead,
so we have 2 hours left on this sub goal. So please go to feedthebadger.com/I and help me out so I can fund the next stage of editing of my story. And also, I want to point out that if you would like to send us a message, you can do so at feedthebadger.com/justthetip. That's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. And you get the full benefit of, avoiding YouTube's sieve of words. And we get the full benefit of whatever you send us. Minus, because YouTube usually takes half guys. So if you want to send us a large amount, we really suggest you go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip, and put it through there. All right, back to you, Brian, for this wonderful expose on why Barbie wasn't feminist enough.
Yeah, not radical enough. Therefore, just more evil capitalism. So okay, so this is a video from, I forget her name already, but it doesn't really matter. And they are talking about, well, let's just play this first clip, I guess. So we're starting in the middle, guys.
Care about empowering young girls. When Disney decided it was time to take their classic cartoon about a young woman who is imprisoned by a cruel and violent man until she learns to love him and update it with a more progressive live-action remake, they cast Emma Watson in the leading role.
Oh, by the way, this individual is critiquing the feminism of Emma Watson. I mean, maybe we shouldn't have started with this because it's a bit far from the subject matter. She's drawing a parallel between the kind of lukewarm feminism of Emma Watson and the lukewarm feminism of Barbie. Think
about that for a second, though, because we oppose what she's calling the lukewarm feminism of Emma Watson because it's still like deeply misandrous, but apparently this person doesn't think it's misandrous enough, doesn't think it's radical enough, doesn't think that it's woke enough, because it's still, you know, I mean, I'm sure that she would call it white feminism because Emma Watson is white, or elitist feminism because Emma Watson is a famous, attractive, $1 million actress, you know. She would call it all these other things, but apparently not enough. That's basically what I think this comes down to. Okay, anyway.
Watson had been in the public eye recently for her UN speech on feminism, asking men to be more involved in ending sexism. This new image of Emma Watson as the inoffensive voice of feminist youth made her an ideal candidate for the role of Belle.
Inoffensive. She's the so when she was saying all the shit that Emma Watson was saying, this person considers that inoffensive. So this is why, by the way, when men say, you know, I feel like I'm getting beat up a lot online, people respond with, oh, boo-hoo, the poor men. Why I'm drinking your tears, men. Because even Emma Watson's statements, while they were, let's say, you know, curated because she was speaking in front of a crowd of probably very rich, very bored people about why men need to step up and like be, you know, advocates for women without white knighting for them or being patriarchs, because that's bad. This and that clearly assuming that men are the problem and men need to be the solution to the problem. This person still doesn't think, she finds that not offensive enough. When you say inoffensive voice, you're saying it should be more offensive. I mean, that's what I take from it anyways. Maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I'm not exactly sure what she thinks she's going to do. I mean, this individual, I may be wrong, but I believe this is a trans woman.
It is a trans woman, yes.
Okay, and I believe that's okay to point out. I mean, they prefer to...
Well, yeah, it's probably says something about what this person thinks about men.
Yeah, but not just that. It's like, okay, what do you want? I mean, Emma Watson already believes that women were oppressed in the past and women are oppressed now. Is it that she says, well, we got to appeal to men? What is so lukewarm about Emma Watson's feminism? And if you're referring to the fact that she thinks that we need to appeal, or women need to appeal to men to get anywhere, I invite you to start developing an action plan for the femtopia separate from the labor of men. Because that's the only way you're going to construct a system that you don't have to appeal to men in some way. All right? Like that's it. You got to take the effort and make the sacrifices to leave the harem. Yeah. And I don't see that happening. So it's basically like it's a meaningless statement to say that Emma Watson's feminism is not sufficiently radical. Why? Well, the only thing I can think of is that she has a place for men to appeal. You know, she appeals to men in it. Like she condemns men, but she appeals to them. She says that they are the ones that need to save women. So I mean, it's the I don't know if you've ever read, I'm pretty sure you haven't, the book called The Triple Package. And it looks at those ethnicities that achieve a high degree in society. And what it finds is that, well, basically there's two qualities that are really critical for high achievement. One, a sense of guilt, and two, a sense of excellence. And this is what Emma Watson is delivering for men. She's creating guilt, but she's also saying, you're the only ones who can save me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So it creates this hero narrative and a guilt for failing to become the hero of Emma Watson. Now, I'm sure this woman appears to believe that that's not extreme enough. And again, that is meaningless rhetoric, lady, unless you have some kind of action plan to construct a society that doesn't rely on men and the fact that men have a higher risk tolerance, by statistically a better understanding of spatial mechanics and all of that. Okay, you gotta construct a society based on the labor of women and the sacrifice of women. You gotta figure out how to get women to be willing to sacrifice enough to keep maintaining utilities that you can count their maintenance in lives lost a year. Okay, good luck with that. Good luck. You got to somehow make women want to take over all of the stuff that men do, and they don't want to. Even the prestigious stuff that men do has significant sacrificial costs. And men are willing to do it, usually not for the prestige, but because they want an identity, a positive identity around helping others. And not necessarily helping others in the way that women do, or not just positive identity around helping others, but a positive identity around creating a difference in the world is basically maybe a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Men are motivated by that. Just that. I mean, they'll volunteer to make a positive difference in the world, to save people. They'll volunteer to do it. And they do it all the time because that's in their nature to do. And it's not as much for women. I'm not saying that women can't do things nice, like bake goods and other stuff, but it's very rare that women seem to have the same kind of instinctive, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's very rare that women have the same kind of willingness to put themselves in danger to protect and provide for others. Okay? And that, I think a big part of that is, again, men have documented a higher risk tolerance and a greater propensity to see themselves in terms of the consequences of their action in the greater world and what kind of change they can affect in the greater world. So unless you have some kind of plan to take over that role from men, you can talk radical shit all you want, but you're doing fucking all at the end of the day. Okay.
Should I keep going on this part or jump to the next bit? You know if there's more to this? Actually, let's hear a little bit more.
Let's hear a little bit more.
Disney has long suffered from feminist critiques of their films, Beauty and the Beast not the least of them. After all, earlier versions of the fairy tale were about arranged marriage, preparing girls for the self-sacrifice that comes with it. Perhaps your husband will be super friggin' gross, but
okay, just a second.
Love him.
All right.
Okay.
You realize that this was self-sacrifice on both parts. If we're talking about arranged marriage, which really wasn't that common outside of the aristocracy, especially in Northern Europe.
The aristocracy is all that matters, apparently.
Well, in Northern Europe, peasant women or women who didn't have significant land holdings that had to be secured, usually married in their mid to late 20s to somebody that they liked. Okay? And so you're talking about aristocratic women. And it cuts both ways. There's plenty of stories of kings or aristocratic men who had to just swallow their bile and service horrifically grotesque foreign princesses.
I think the thing that
Balrog.
Yeah, I think the thing that's supposed to make the fairy tales appealing is that it is an instance where the princess and the prince happen to also fall in love, whereas in most cases it was an arrangement to bring kingdoms together or to settle some political thing or to strengthen a family lineage or whatever, and everybody was pretty much okay with it because life was cheap. People, they just died, and it's silly too because I know that this woman doesn't, this person doesn't know this, But the Disney movies of the 90s were pretty feminist compared to the Disney movies of the golden age, of the beginning, where, you know, where they were trying to insert feminist stuff, because the original films like Snow White, Sleeping Beauty, and Cinderella were getting a lot of critique because they weren't feminist at the time, even though Walt had no interest in making them feminist. He just wanted to tell these stories. So Little Mermaid and Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and Pocahontas, those were all more feminist, you could say woke for their time, and now they're remaking them again, and apparently those movies weren't good enough. Do you see the pattern here? It's almost like they're never happy, and you should stop trying to satisfy them, because it's always going to be like, it's going to get to the point where they're going to remake one of these
moving target.
Yeah, it's an eternally moving target that constantly wants to revolutionize whatever is standard today to go even further away. And I mean, it'll get to the point where, you know, there won't even be a man in like a Snow White film or something, because that would be a problem. The dwarves will all be non-binary gray blobs, and Snow White and the queen will be lesbian lovers, and they'll get married, and there won't even be a plot. It'll just be trans,
yeah. And not trans, maybe. Both trans. One has to be a bio woman, because we can't be. Yeah. One will be a trans woman, one will be a bio woman, and maybe the mirror on the wall will start to be about like transforming.
There won't even be a mirror anymore, because I think they're going to take out the mirror in this new remake that's coming out, because they said that they're not going to have the queen be jealous of Snow White because they don't want to encourage female rivalry, so they're going to become besties. That's what's going to happen. So
okay, so. This is, by the way, this is number 1. So if anybody wants to time code the Emma Watson as parallel to lukewarm feminism of Barbie discussion, it started a little bit earlier than this, but this is number 1. It's the least really hard hitting and on more diffusive. But there was something I wanted to ask you before we continue, Brian.
Okay.
You watched the original Snow White.
I did.
What did you think of it, and what did you think of the message around women?
Oh, I mean, the original Snow White is actually, I now know why it's considered a classic for the time. So the thing that really makes Snow White stand out is how much of the symbolism is like it's universalized. So Snow White is supposed to represent a kind of ideal heroine. Now, people might say she doesn't fight any battles or anything like that, and for some reason people think that being a hero or a heroine involves resolving physical conflicts. But go ahead.
It involves your fisticuffs.
Yeah,
that's
it has to be no, but
it
what
has to be violent.
What it does though, and I'm not saying this is the only way you could tell this story, because there's others that have tackled sort of different aspects of femininity to make them heroic, like motherhood, for example. But in this case of Snow White, first of all, she is extremely humble, despite being the most beautiful woman in the land, right? Like, according to the magic mirror, which apparently knows, she is extremely humble. She does not think of herself as above anyone. And even though she was, but the queen made her into a slave girl that basically toiled cleaning and doing the washing and all of these things around the castle. She stays positive. She stays happy. She doesn't mistreat anyone. She doesn't become resentful. She endures, is essentially what it is, right? She endures suffering, she endures hardship, and she does so with a smile on her face and a spring in her step, and it's so attractive that she does that. That's why she attracts animals, because it's sort of
her goodness.
It's her goodness, it's her kindness, but like there is a kind of there are several biblical references made in the movie. One of them is that she speaks to the animals, which I think I've said on the show before, that I learned that this is what Eve did that was different from Adam in the Garden of Eden, was that Eve could speak to the animals. So she became an advocate for the animals. Adam was more like a scientist. He would name the animals, and he would essentially categorize them. And it's meant to be a masculine way of organizing, which is fine. He's like creating order. but Eve listens to the animals, so she brings a little bit of chaos in, because she says, look, this animal this is what they want, etc. But then there is a challenge with that. This is why the serpent goes to Eve, because she speaks to the animals. Adam can't speak to the serpent, right? So it's an interesting way of, I don't know everything about it, but that was some of the stuff I got from a class that I took that talked about Genesis, and that was one of the things I never knew before that I learned. And Snow White, this is why the Disney princesses, the early ones, would spend time with animals. I think that was an intentional thing that Walt put in the story. So when you see these things that kind of poke fun, at the idea that the animals all want to be around the women, that's why, though. That's that it's sort of like women are closer to the earth, and they're closer to the nature. At least that's what the symbolism represents. But anyway, so that's another thing. The third thing is that when Snow White is the queen finds out that she's more beautiful, and so she's like, I gotta get rid of this woman because I want to be the most fairest one of all. And this is something about, basically, the queen represents the shadow side of women, the narcissism, the jealousy, the vengefulness. These are important things that girls should know about themselves. Like the queen and Cinderella say something to both sides of a woman.
Snow White, right? Snow White.
Right? What did I say? Did I say Cinderella?
Cinderella.
Snow White. Cinderella has the same thing with Lady Tremaine, but Snow White is what I mean to say. And so when the queen, she wants to get rid of her, she hires a man, the woodsman or the huntsman, to take her out into the woods and kill her, and then come back when the job is done, right? So she doesn't even want to get her hands dirty. She has somebody else do it. And this man takes Snow White out there, and he cannot bring himself to do it because she is too innocent, she is too pure, and she is too kind. And see, that kindness saves her. You could say it's gynocentric, but I think that it's more about her behavior. And so, because he could have killed her, which would have pleased the queen, which would have been, a sort of dark kind of, I guess you could say, loyalty to femininity. But instead, he spares her and he says, run and hide because the queen's going to kill you. So you get that, right? So the woodsman not killing her and letting her go, even though he never comes back, you don't see him again. I think that's a super important moment, because it shows you what men think of her. Also, she runs into the prince earlier because he's passing through and she's singing, and he hears her singing and he joins in the song. So that's how you know that they love each other, right? I mean, they don't have a lot of time together, but we're talking about a movie that's an hour and a half long or less. So you don't have a lot of time to establish, does he know what her hobbies are and all that? That's bullshit. It doesn't work, right? We don't need it. But here's the thing that I thought was really great. It's a couple of really great things. So Snow White's in the middle of nowhere. She's lost. She's never left the castle. So now you have a situation where women who are normally protected by what feminists would call patriarchy, or the inner perimeter of civilization, which is protected by men, right? So men are on the perimeter, and they're protecting the perimeter from the outside, from nature, from another tribe, or whatever monsters or barbarians are outside of that perimeter. That's where men protect. Women generally do not go out there, but Snow White is forced out there. And so when she is out there, she's in a place she's never been before, and she's surrounded by nature, and it's very scary. And there's this scene where she's running through the woods and all the trees look creepy, and I don't know if you remember that, but a lot of kids were terrified by that. And then she calms down because the animals come to her and they comfort her, and then she does this on her own, though. She calms down, she calms her tits, and then she says, I need to find a place, some shelter, because it's getting dark. She finds the dwarves' house. She goes in. She doesn't know who the dwarves are. She sees the place. She's like, oh, this is it looks like 7 little children live here, because obviously these small beds. But she also sees that the dwarves, their home is a mess. They don't clean their dishes. They leave shit everywhere. There's cobwebs on everything. So she decides, since she wants to use the home for shelter, that she will in turn so she wants to be a good, she's hoping that they'll be good hosts, but she thinks she should be a good guest. And so she cleans their house while the dwarves are mining, in the cave, right? And so she cleans it top to bottom. And I think that it's sort of like how it's acknowledging a way that you could say a typical woman would thank someone that doesn't have to be a lover or whatever, because the relationship between Snow White and the dwarves is more like she sees them as little brothers, or siblings or family. It's obviously not romantic, but it's not like they're her kids either. And so she cleans everything, and I think she even prepares some food for them, and then the dwarves come back, and of course they don't know that this has all happened, and they're freaking out because everything's clean and they don't understand it, and so then they meet her, and and there's all this funny stuff that happens, and then the dwarves are like really pleased with her being there, so it's super wholesome, right? And what was really amazing, and I mean, it doesn't matter what you feel about this or not, but what was really amazing that I know you don't see in movies anymore at all, but much less Disney movies, is that night, the dwarves let her stay in the beds, and they choose to sleep like on the chairs and in stuff in the main floor while she's in the bedroom sleeping. And of course, they don't want to be in the room with her because it's not appropriate, according to them. But before she goes to bed, she's super grateful. She's super appreciative, even though she cleaned their house, but she's appreciative they let her stay there. And then she prays for them. And there's like a scene where she prays. She doesn't say God, but she's kneeling at the bed, clasping her hands with her head down, and she's praying for all the dwarves before she goes to bed. So, I mean, what? Go ahead.
No, finish your thought. I'm sorry, I thought you might.
No, I mean, like, I'm not gonna. You know what happens after that, but like, those are I think that the main traits that Snow White exhibits, and you should watch this movie if you guys haven't seen it in a while, is she is like, it was like they sat there and they said, how do we make this woman as appealing as possible? And I mean, not sexually at all. It's just, she's just a beautiful, pure, wholesome, supportive, encouraging. Like, she encourages the dwarves. She tries to, like, they all have little flaws. She tries to make them better. She does, like, the thing that I guess, Walt at least believed that would suit a woman like that best in terms of her role in the story. And she is the hero because she's the one that changes. I mean, the witch.
How does she change?
Well, I guess
she gains a certain amount of self-reliance in the woods, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. She's no longer sheltered. So it's like, and of course she does a brush with death. She meets new people. She builds, you could say, community because she befriends the dwarves. And then the prince comes and he saves her or whatever. He breaks the spell. But like, again, this is something that both of them wanted. They, that the prince wanted it and Snow White wanted it, and they were separated. And as the viewer, you're supposed to hope that they find each other again. So it's basically boy meets girl, boy loses girl. So
okay, so I mean, what I've noticed is that progressively, these stories have to strip the effect of femininity out of them.
Yeah,
like you would look at Snow White, and a lot of what she does is it's a feminine approach to solving problems and gaining influence and strength. And in the whole sequence that you're seeing is over and over and over again. We have the empowerment is women taking on the role of force, not even a masculine role specifically, but a sub portion of the masculine role, which is physical force. Mm-hmm. Because men can also use
absolutely
diplomacy. They can also intellect. They can also, solve problems with ways other than force. And yet it's specifically that aspect. If you took out force as a means to solve problems, how many women in modern cinema would be able to solve a problem? Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how they have this obsession, like feminists have this obsession with patriarchy using force to subjugate women, at the same time as empowerment for women is being able to use force to enact their will. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's actually a really very unpleasant paradigm to exist within.
Yeah.
You know, and very limited. I know with my story, which I'll speak on briefly. I attempted to create female characters who were strong because they were feminine, not in spite of being feminine. So these female characters, like there's a few of them. Some of them could be seen as, you know, like one is an inspector who uses her ability to observe and an appearance of being slightly helpless to get what she wants. And you know, and there are others of a similar vein that they're actually using their femininity as like in the way Snow White does, but it differently. And so I was thinking about this, and it's like that is one of the things that is most absent in media today, is this idea that femininity has any use whatsoever, is anything but weakness. And it's really funny because they call themselves feminists, and it does seem to be that they do not like femininity. They don't particularly like, and they don't really recognize the positive aspects of masculinity, although they will recognize the positive aspects of femininity, which is interesting. So they would say that Snow White as a character embodies the positive feminine, but at the same time she's subjugated. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe that to them is as good as it gets. I mean, that's why, like, you know, these people, they disenchant everything. That's what they do. They take the enchantment out of things. This is why this person has to frame Beauty and the Beast as, oh, this ugly, gross dude like kidnaps this girl and she gets Stockholm syndrome and learns to live with it. That's not what the story is about at all. And I mean, like, of course she has to do that because it's all about whatever we get out of it, we're not allowed to have. Like, it has to be stripped away. It has to be disenchanted. And one of the most effective ways, I guess, that they find is to inject as much realism, and I put that in quotes, into it as possible. So, you know, when realistically, it doesn't matter what you think about that. That's like saying realistically orcs wouldn't exist. So why did J.R.R. Tolkien write Lord of the Rings if he wasn't talking about, you know, this or that race of people instead? Why doesn't he just be honest? It's because you're disenchanting everything. You're unable to enjoy stuff. This is why I call them nihilists, because they don't have an idea of anything that's positive that comes out of our culture, unless it's what they're doing, and even then it's negative.
They would say that the qualities that make Snow White, the feminine qualities, make her morally superior to men, at the same time as they would say that it's disempowering for her to show them.
Yeah.
And that she should embrace what they really would consider to be patriarchal oppression, the use of violence to subjugate others. You know, and that is, you should be able, like, you should be able to write female characters, like I said, that use their femininity to change the world around them. Because she does, right? She changes the dwarves. She overcomes the circumstances she's put through. And she does so while being courageous. Like, it is to be thrown into the wild, into the woods, and people don't understand that now because they don't really live close to the woods. Woods is a scary goddamn place. To just be thrown out and be able to just get your wits about you and then effect a positive outcome, that's courage. Yeah. She represents the courage of the maiden archetype, the courage to face adversity and find the best parts of yourself without violence or anger. You know, the most transcendent parts of your soul to overcome adversity. That is the maiden archetype. And that is the archetype of courage. It's the same, in some ways, it's the same kind of courage you see in the Christ myth with both the Mother Mary and Christ, is the courage to overcome a circumstance that you cannot destroy physically. You cannot overcome it physically. You must endure it. But you must endure it with grace, right? Yeah. That's what she represents. And that is a virtue. And we should be able to write stories about female characters who embody these virtues and see them as empowerment. Because quite honestly, most people cannot solve their problems with their fists. And if they do so, they're most likely part of a criminal class. Most of our problems are solved through patience, through self-development, through careful observation of our surroundings, and learning when best to either be diplomatic or stand up for ourselves, and that kind of stuff. So in day-to-day life, the courage and diplomacy and kindness of the maiden archetype serves everyone best. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and you know, Christ's story very much embodies that. And so it's like this isn't just a story for women. You know, there are some aspects of it that men can take from it that, you know, they might express it very differently. But this idea of courageous endurance is, like, I'm pretty sure soldiers understand it, because a lot of soldiering is just enduring shit until you can make a positive change, you know, and until you can actually fight back. So this isn't just this. There's something feminine to it, but there is also something overarchingly human.
Yeah.
And we get rid of all of that in the modern age. We don't recognize any of it. It's all just Captain Marvel punching people out, or women, or mostly men out, and discovering that the patriarchy done kept her down.
Yep. Reject modernity.
And it's not even embracing the hero's journey aspect of the physical hero. Like, it's not even Captain Marvel learning to be a better person.
Nope. She's already perfect. She just needed to remember it.
Yeah.
That's literally the plot. Yeah.
That is just, and that's also the plot of Barbie. So to get back on the topic.
It is. It's the plot of every film with a female in it. If there's any journey at all, it's basically a reveal. Oh, I was always great.
This woman does not understand the depth of the archetypes that she's talking about here.
Yeah.
Beauty and the Beast is about a woman who had superficial values, learning to overcome them and recognize the true value of the masculine. So she had a focus on beauty. That's why she asked her father for a rose. Okay? She had a focus on beauty. Her sisters were more about material wealth. They're irrelevant. But she had a focus on beauty. And then she was presented with this guy who was, on a surface level, ugly. She had to come to understand him and appreciate him for what he was, and then he became beautiful.
Right.
Or she was able to recognize his beauty.
Yes.
And this is...
But like, can I just say, because it's really important to point this out, that is what Sleeping Beauty was supposed to be, or not Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast was supposed to be. But if you remember the Disney version that came out in the 90s, Beauty, or Belle, was she did not have that superficial personality. She didn't have to learn that the Beast was actually like beautiful on the inside and all of that, because they didn't want to give her that character flaw. So this is why it looks like a monster kidnapped the girl that was fine already, because she doesn't really change that much, and that then he had to learn to be human through her. She civilized him, I guess. But that's not really what the original story was. It's more like what you said. And now these modern feminists are looking at that movie and they're like, oh man, Stockholm Syndrome, but they don't even know what the original one said. So you see what I'm saying? Like, because they left that character flaw out of Belle in the animated version, people are thinking that's the canon version, and that means that the Beast is actually the bad guy, because that's kind of how they... Now, I didn't watch the Emma Watson one because fuck those people, but like, I'm guessing that they also changed that even more, because that's how this goes. So.
Oh yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just she's also not really understanding this, because there's an aspect of the feminine archetype in fairy tales, and one of the most critical aspects, it seems, of the role of the princess, or the lady of the manor, is to identify the type of masculinity that is beneficial to the society and the societal needs she represents. And this is like this is almost like the anointing, the Lady of the Lake throwing the Excalibur at Arthur, although he supposedly pulled it from a stone. You know, I guess.
Who?
The Lady of the Lake. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So this idea that the feminine identifies the masculine that is necessary to protect and provide for the society that she advocates for. That is like an archetypal like process that is in a lot of fairy tales around like with female heroines. But you know, this woman does not recognize that because she herself has an incredibly superficial understanding of the feminine.
Yep.
And the woman's journey in mythology. Okay, and should we go to the next one?
Yeah, let's play the next one. This is women in STEM, because that's totally related. All right, here we go. Oh, I got a super chat from Albert Data Retro for $2 Canadian, and he says inoffensive, not objectionable or harmful. Yeah, she wants it to be objectionable and harmful. She wants to hurt men with it. That's basically
I also have some thank yous too.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay, so Vesa gave $100. Thank you, Vesa.
Thank you, Vesa. Let's see, what do we got here?
Wow.
Okay.
And DSC, that's all I'll say of your name, gave us $50. Thank you, DSC.
Thank you, $50.
Jolly cooperation.
Okay, so we have 170 left to go, guys. Can we make it? Once again, go to feedthebadger.com/I if you want to help out. I have, you know, like when I first wrote this story, I had these ideas floating in my head. I didn't specifically write it to be like, oh, this is going to be the anti-strong female character. But that's sort of the way it fell out. Like, I'm not a very feminine woman by any stretch of the imagination, but I think that women who are feminine really get like a short shrift in our society in terms of respect, because they're constantly being portrayed as patsies and as dupes and as fall guys for the patriarchy. And I'm like, no, they have their own strength. They have their own means to make things happen in the world. You know, they have their own purpose and their own being. And it's not just like, they're not just puppets of someone else. I mean, it's, you know, a feminine woman can get things done too. And I say that as somebody who's naturally, I think, more on the masculine spectrum. I mean, when I look at my digits, I'm like, holy shit, I'm right in, you know, the finger length thing?
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Your index versus your ring finger. Yeah.
No, your middle finger versus your ring finger, or your index versus your ring finger.
It's your index versus your ring. Yeah, index versus your ring finger. I'm like, yeah, I think my mother must have been taking shots of testosterone when she was pregnant with me.
Smoking cigars and chewing tobacco
and pinching women's bums or something.
Yeah, right. Yeah, drinking lager. All right, go ahead.
I came
throwing axes.
I came out pretty different. But anyway, but like when I look at this, I'm like, and maybe it's something I don't feel like I have anything to prove, but like again, I think that feminine women really get slammed.
They do.
As being useless. And it's like, no, that's not that way at all. So I sort of went out of my way to try to write some more feminine archetypes and show how they can make positive change in the world around them, you know, and have their own types of hero's journey and their own types of realizations, and can be very interesting characters without throwing a punch or shooting a gun or being super sassy to the menfolk because whatever, or maybe they are sometimes when it's called for. But anyway, so that if that sounds like a story that might be of interest, again, please go to feedthebadger.com/I, that's EYE, and throw a few shekels in the hat. We have $170 left, and I think we're getting on 1 hour left.
Yeah. Wow. Cutting it close.
Yeah, we're cutting it close. Although, like, this is gonna be an ongoing thing. So, because I don't want to just throw the entire amount of the editing on people at once. So, but anyway, if we can get that $170 left in, it's like the way that it works is that when it says it's 1 hour, it's like actually 1 hour and 59 minutes. So. So it's
almost 2 hours, but
almost 2 hours when it says 1 hour. But still, guys, get it in, help us out, because I think this is kind of message that needs to be said. I think that our current system, you know what? I don't even know who it doesn't screw, because it screws masculine women. Because what am I supposed to do? Like, you're like, oh, masculinity is toxic. Well, okay. I guess there's a portion of my way of existing in the world gone. And then femininity is just oppression. Well, then what the hell do you want from women?
Yeah, right.
Do you just want us all to be some surly, cross-eyed bitch like Captain Marvel?
She cross-eyed?
Nah, I'm just being an
Well, I know, I don't pay attention, so I mean,
okay.
She might be. All right. Anyway, let's get into this clip. Here's the YouTuber.
It's a trap.
No, I did not push that button. Okay, let's keep going.
Well, the reason why there are so few women in STEM is not because they haven't considered whether Barbie could work in STEM, it's because they face misogyny at every turn, from the gendered expectations of teachers to hostile and abusive work environments. They have fewer opportunities and are paid less.
Okay, so what she's saying is
God, so
they're proposing, yeah, so smug and thrilled about all this crap. They're proposing to have a Barbie in STEM figure. And she's saying, well, that's not going to do anything because of all of the disenfranchisement that women face.
You gotta dismantle all the structures of the institutions.
Okay, I'm going to blast this crap out of the water. All right, first of all, the peak of women in STEM, and what I mean by women is women who were identified as women at birth, however you want to say that. Women who have wombs, shall we say. Woman. Okay, so the peak of women who have wombs in STEM was in the mid-'80s. And it was most likely as a result of the mid-'50s push to view scientists as professionals who are patriotic. So in other words, they're doing something for their country. And for whatever reason, that relatively gender-neutral message of social responsibility and professionalism really appealed to a lot of women. So by the time the mid-'80s rolled around, there was about 70 or 37% of people in STEM were female. That declined through the 80s and the 90s and the early 90s, and to something like 25%, I believe. And now it's going back up again.
Yeah.
But what I've noticed is that it's going up again as more and more trans women. There are more and more men who realize that they are actually women and identify as women. And that as that increases, the number of women in STEM is increasing. And I'm guessing, now I can only say a correlation, but I suspect the reason why women in STEM are increasing is because there are more trans women in STEM. And considering how much they're increasing, there may be a point in the future that women outnumber men in STEM without women who've been identified at birth increasing at all in STEM. So thank you. As a trans woman, thank you. You are going to destroy the inequity in STEM. Like she is going to help destroy the inequity in STEM. Trans women are going to help destroy the inequity towards women in STEM. And I can only guess it's because trans women, being trans women, have such a greater ability to overcome oppression than cis women. So they're just breaking that STEM ceiling.
How?
Because what do you mean how?
How?
Yeah,
I mean, trans women should be more oppressed than women.
No, wait, listen. Okay.
Which means
now,
they're less capable.
It could be. I mean, there's all kinds of ways of looking at this intersectionally. Know that I'm doing this tongue in cheek, but It could be that trans women are using their previous male privilege to break through the trans or the STEM barrier, right? Because they supposedly have more initial privilege than cis women. But I've been told that trans women are higher on the progressive stack. So trans women should be seen to deal with more oppression than cis women. I'm not sure how you square that circle, but either trans women are using their male privilege to break through the barriers in STEM, or perhaps they have experienced more oppression, so they've lived under a heavier load than cis women and are capable of breaking the barriers that cis women simply just cannot. I mean, it couldn't possibly be some other factor that trans women have that women who are coercively identified as women at birth don't have. That's not possible. It couldn't be some quality that trans women possess that they might share with another group of, another gender group. No. It probably is something to do with their greater ability to push through oppression relative to cis women. But we have to thank our trans sisters because they are going to be removing all of the barriers that women face mysteriously to equity, and they are going to be filling in all of the gaps. So pretty soon, there may be no wage gap, no gap in STEM, no gap in athletics, nothing. I mean, we may find that once trans women acquire their appropriate place in women's athletics, since for whatever reason trans women have been endowed with a greater athletic prowess than women coercively defined as women, and we will find that women's sports actually make more money because the athletes in them are more physically impressive.
Yes, they work harder somehow, and therefore
because they have
excel.
they have to lift more oppression.
Yes,
right?
that's what it is. Yes. The weight of
The
oppression
weight
greater,
of oppression makes trans women more stronger, more agile,
strides are broader,
more risk taking in athletics. Yeah, it's the resistance of male oppression that's making them break down all the barriers to women's equity in all kinds of different areas. Well, all I can say is, you go, girl.
All right,
trans girl boss.
Let's continue.
Go. But maybe if little girls could only buy a STEM Barbie, then they would finally see that girls can do anything. If you believe in yourself, no amount of misogyny or violence can stand in your way. Am I right, ladies?
All right.
I guess.
I mean, she's saying that the Barbie doll is not giving women jobs in STEM. It's symbolic, and therefore it's not good enough. Which is weird, because I didn't know that Mattel was responsible for putting women in STEM. I thought that those individual women were responsible for that. And believing in yourself, that doesn't do anything. I think most of us who are adults know that. It's not enough. You have to actually do the work. And the truth is that a lot of women don't want to do the work. They have something else in mind. They want to do a white-collar job somewhere. They want to get married and let the man do the work. Whatever it is. So if women are not doing the thing that you think that they should be doing, because that's ultimately what this comes down to, is feminists saying, women are not doing what I think they should be doing because the numbers are bearing out differently than what I think they should be, therefore women should be made to do it. Oh, they're not doing it? It must be men's fault.
Oh, there was something else I wanted to add to this. When I was watching this and listening to her description of all of this, which, props to her. It was sort of an interesting, historic look at Barbie marketing. Obviously ideologically, I disagree with her, but it wasn't a bad video. It wasn't terribly boring. But what I realized is she pointed out that Barbie is about consumerism. So you buy the Barbie, you buy all the outfits. So it's about empowering girls by turning them into modern day consumers. And then I noticed how Barbie, they started with all of the workplace outfits for the secretaries and whatever else Barbie was in the 50s and 60s. And then they started on all of the other Barbie professions.
Astronaut and stuff.
And I was looking at it and I was like, this is turning professions into a consumable, into a consumption item. Like, this is turning them into a basically a fashion accessory. And then I realized that's what we've done. We've turned jobs into fashion accessories, into consumable items. And instead of actual things in which you have to work and take some kind of joy in seeing, like, the masculine notion of a job.
Is that true for all toys or just the girls' toys?
I think it's true for how we framed work. Period.
Well, I guess, but I mean, like, when boys have, like, Tonka trucks or
no, I mean work for women, not for boys.
Oh, right. That's what I'm getting at. Okay, so we are talking about women's work. Okay, because boy toys are usually like they involve action, like stuff that you're doing. Like, you know, I had one of those dump trucks. You could fill it with sand or dirt and then drive it around and dump it off. Right. Exactly. Or a fire truck that had, like, you know, you could pull the hose off of it. Like, it was interactive in a way that made boys, they got a little closer to what the job was. It was about the mechanics of it and stuff. It wasn't like about outfits. But anyway, go ahead. Legos.
Yeah, like, when you look at boys' toys, they're about the actual actions being taken in the job. You look at like Barbie, it's about the uniform, the prestige, the title. It's about job as a consumable item, like something you purchase.
Remember Lincoln Logs? Man, I love those. You could build a cabin with it. Okay,
but my overall point is that I think that's what, in some ways, we've approached jobs in our society. Like, you look at the adult daycare jobs. They're basically a title, and people just, I don't know, like, having naps and eating lattes and doing all this other stuff that has nothing to do with actual work. We did get a super chow that I don't know Kate went through.
Let me see. I don't know.
Because I see it in the background.
I don't see it here, so it didn't go through yet.
Weird. Okay, yeah. So anyway, this is from.
You could read the super chat. Hold on a second. Let me get. Let me put Badger Chan on the screen here. Okay, go ahead.
Dr. John Oakland says, to quote a nerdy English guy from Tomb Raider legend, the sword and the stone in Excalibur were two different bloody swords.
I didn't know that.
Thank you. I didn't know that either. I was actually at a bit of a loss because I was like, wait, I thought he took the sword out of the stone, but now he's having
the sword in the
lobbed
stone
at him from moistened bent.
Yeah, so the sword in the stone, I guess, was symbolic of him being like the one. But the Excalibur is actually his sword. So
I'm wondering why.
Speaking of the sword and the stone, I'm gonna try and get Lizzie to watch. I want to watch that movie too. That's another Disney movie, because they were doing like movies for girls and movies for boys. Although everybody could watch all of them, but I want to see the Sword and the Stone again because that was one of my favorites. With Mad Madam Mim and Merlin. Blow me to Bermuda. All right. Next time code. We'll jump ahead. Let's see, 1755. So right here, it's like right there. Okay.
Since in one scene, Margot Robbie's Barbie says she feels ugly, and the scene pauses so that the narrator can make a comment about how Margot Robbie is too pretty to say that. And the point is for the movie to be like, body image. Am I right, ladies? Now you can't say in your reviews and your tweets that the film didn't bring up body image problems. It really did. The feminist revolution started with Emma Watson's shoes, and now here we are. Incredible.
Okay, so essentially what one of the things that Emma Watson said in her this is number 3, by the way. It's body issues.
I know. There's a two-part to that.
Yeah. Oh, are we looking at the 2-part?
I'm playing number 3. So number 2 was women in STEM. Number 3 is body issues, which is this body image, whatever. What women think when they look at dolls like Barbie and how it basically kills their soul.
Yeah, but there was a part in the original Emma Watson that she was talking about, where she pointed out that Emma Watson got Belle because she's a farm girl to wear sensible shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just find this, like, I don't know. So apparently the movie did not address body issues. Well, yeah. I mean, it did have a variety of Barbies.
There were a couple heavyset Barbies. There was a trans Barbie. But I guess because dolls of those don't exist in a satisfactory way, then it's not really a try. This is why I'm saying, this is why, like, when I watch this video, this is why I'm like, let's stop trying to make these people happy. Because they can't. Let's just stop. Let's just satisfy the people who want to be happy. Let's just look to those people and just please them, because these people, they're not happy and they don't want to be happy and they don't want you to be happy and they want everyone to be miserable just like they are. They're literally crabs in the bucket. Misery loves company. No fun. They're anti-fun. I'm just so not feeling like this person's attitude. I don't want to be around people like this. I will avoid them at all
Almost
costs.
like you want to just be like, let them enjoy their stupid Barbie movie.
Yeah, I think that if you think that you're prone to this kind of nihilistic depression, I would avoid movies like that, because it's just going to put you deeper in the hole, unless that's what you want, in which case, go for it, whatever.
Well, how about this? I'm sure there are people who went to the Barbie movie and didn't try to take anything out of it, didn't extort their relationships to pledge allegiance to insanity, and just were like, it's pink. You know what? Good for them. You derive some enjoyment out of something. You're not actually using it as a point to extort other people. And honestly, the messaging is so damn confused in that movie. All I can tell is that the ultimate message is that patriarchy is bad, but also mainly good.
Sometimes I think women want to be told that everything sucks, and that it's men's fault.
And you know what? And it's whatever.
I think that's what they want. I mean, that's like, I don't think I think that when they're happy,
but at the same time,
they don't know what contentment looks like. They just want to be miserable.
But at the same time, they seem to want to have some jolly fellow to actually be like, can I get this thing? And he's like, he pats her on the head and says, sure. They want to complain about patriarchy, but then they want to have patriarchy to appeal to be where the buck stops, and they don't really want to leave the nest, so to speak. They still want to be cloistered. They want to complain about it, but still not, leave it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they want to be part of something that they can complain about, but still at the end of the day is beneficial to them, because patriarchy constructed Barbie Land after all.
Yep.
Okay, and know what?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
You know what? I think that's okay. It's like Dilbert. You want to be employed, but you still want to grumble about the fact that your boss is pointy-haired. I don't know.
Yeah.
But anyway,
that was number 4. 5, addressing body image. But there is a B part to this, so I'll jump ahead to that and play it.
Well, actually, keep watching from here. Let's see if there.
Play a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
The film really slows itself down trying to anticipate all of your potential criticism. It's like they scrolled through Twitter and found every half-baked complaint about Barbie and just shoved a line in the film to just try to preemptively counteract it.
Oh, you're noticing that kind of
tiresome.
Oh, you've noticed that. You noticed that. Now that it's being done to you.
Well, I mean, but is it really a criticism of Barbie, or is it a criticism of society? Because I think that's what they're trying to satisfy. When America Ferrera does her rant at the end, which is the takeaway for basically every woman that watched the movie, when she does her rant at the end, she's not talking about the doll. She's talking about us. She's talking about men and women. She's talking about men mostly, though. That everything that all of these impossible, paradoxical standards that women love but also loathe, because that is also a paradox and you have to embrace it because women are fucking crazy. That is not Barbie's fault. That is my fault. That is my father's fault. That is my brother's fault. That is society's fault, and it never includes women, even though it should totally include women. And the suffering is unique to her, not to other people. Men don't deal with the same kinds of, issues of any kind, and this is what we're supposed to just take it. We're supposed to take it on the chin and then just go out there and say, I'm sorry for existing, and this will make everything better. And that's what I think, that's what's on Twitter. The Barbie movie is just the latest vehicle to do that with. People in the chat were saying that we're talking about this movie a lot. It's not that. This isn't really about the doll. That's just the way that the normal feminist everyday complaints that have been going on for 100 years are just coming out in a new packaging, but it's the same shit. It's always the same shit. It won't change. They're always going to find something, a new way to complain about the same things. So they're not like new things. They're the same things. The only way this is going to change is if a literal nuke lands on the East Coast, and then they'll still blame men for that somehow. Like, so, I'm sorry, but this is just their mindset is so broken. It's so pessimistic. I'm done with these people. They have nothing to offer me. All they do is complain. I'm so sick of it. I'm sorry. I'm just so done. Anyway.
Okay.
You want to say something else?
Yeah, let's go to the second half of this.
All right, I'm gonna jump ahead to B, which is 2120. Let's see.
Like jumping ahead music. Like this is basically just the new packaging of the old.
Yeah, it's the same. It's
stuff.
the same complaints. It's. I mean, I'm serious. Like in 10 years, guys, in 10 more years, okay. I don't know what the internet's going to look like. I don't know if we're going to be on, we're going to have a moon base. I don't know what's going to be going on. But if there is a form of communication that exists, whether it's telepathic, emails, or whatever, there will be a bitch complaining about the world in this, and she'll be making the same arguments. It doesn't matter what the world looks like. It'll be the same shit. So just, get ready, because those things are never going away. They're never going. We're going to live with this now. I bet that there were serfs in fucking the Middle Ages under there were dirt farmers, and there were women complaining about men back then, and men that were just going along with it yeah, girl, I see that you have to carry more dirt than this guy does. It's gonna be this. It doesn't end. It's the same shit, man. It's the same shit. You could make a cartoon, right, where you have,
like I said,
you have from caveman times, there is a woman complaining and feminist cave people, and they're bitching about the writing on the wall, or the fact that the men took too long to come back with whatever their carcass is that they were going to feed to the entire tribe. You can go from the cavemen to the fucking the Greek, ancient Greece, through Egypt, and on forward to the Renaissance, to the Middle Ages, to the Industrial Revolution, to the Wild West, all the way up to the fucking far future with the Morlocks underground and the Time Machine movie, and there will be the same woman sitting in the same position complaining about something. No matter how comfortable we make society, there are women bitching about it. And I'm so tired. I'm sorry. It's just exhausting. I can't believe I have to take this shit seriously because enough people are complaining. This is such a joke. Okay, I'm done.
Well, the problem really is that the complaints are starting to eat into men's sense of self and well-being.
Yeah.
And
that's, and the more privileged they are, the more likely they are to do it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, again, the Barbie movie, and I'm pretty sure this is one of the reasons why the more extreme feminists are not liking it. Mm-hmm. I mean, it basically the Barbie movie ends with the quirky, well-intentioned patriarchy and the recognition that patriarchy creates the utopia of Barbie. I mean, at the end of the day, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
And nothing has changed. Nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this. It's like it's not about the nail. You remember that video?
Yep.
It's not about the patriarchy. It's about how the patriarchy makes me feel.
Yeah.
Are you going to remove the nail? No. No, we don't want to remove the nail. No, just keep the nail. Nail's fine. It's just how the nail makes me feel. We don't want to remove patriarchy. Patriarchy's fine, ultimately, because you I mean, we don't want to say this out. We say this part silently to ourselves. We don't say it out loud, but you always do what we want anyway. Mm-hmm. It's about how you make us feel when you do what we want. It's that is the Barbie movie. It's oh yes, the patriarchy is horrible, but are you going to change it? Are you going to get rid of the nail? No, we're just going to complain about it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, that's really pointless. Do you ever spend a moment to think about how this entire construct of men as being responsible for horrible things might be hurting men? No, we don't have to worry about that because men are infinitely powerful.
Yep.
And then this woman is, of course, complaining because, well, patriarchy is presented as something that's ultimately good because it constructed the utopia of Barbie land, and Will Ferrell is charming. You know, like
yeah, the men aren't demonized enough, right? They're just sort of
the
silly.
men aren't demonized.
And I know it's not radical enough. I'm supposed to just listen to this and take it seriously. Anyway, let's get to the second. So this is the B part of the body positivity thing. She kind of circles back to it. So let's play that.
We're both feeling bad about our bodies. That since watching the film, we had come out feeling worse about how we look. And that actually surprised us because...
Well, no shit. I mean... like, but well, you know what? I don't actually... Okay, go ahead, Allison.
I'm not really exactly a Barbie mold type woman. And
why aren't you traumatized by that? Why aren't you weeping? You know, you ever see the meme where there's like a Wojak girl looking at a Barbie doll or like a superhero woman or a character from Overwatch, like a very attractive female character, and she's like, why I can never look like that? What's with these unrealistic body standards? And then there's like a Chad man looking at like a He-Man doll or a drawing of He-Man or like some Dragon Ball Z character, and he's like, man, I gotta go to the gym so I can look like that. Like, that's literally what this is, you know? Like, women, I don't know why, but women are torn apart by the notion that attractive women exist, but men are inspired. Or they don't say shit. They just let it go.
Yep.
You know?
I missed putting in one where she starts talking about how Mattel doesn't want to use the word feminist. They'll use the word girl power, but not feminist.
Yeah,
that is pretty hilarious. But no, I think we might have gotten it with okay, so this is B. That basically was just that's it for
where
for
she's
3B.
like they want to address body issues or body, I guess, image stuff, but I felt worse after seeing an actual woman, because I remember the feminist argument against Barbie was that her proportions didn't make sense, because if a woman actually had those proportions, they wouldn't be able to like stand up and walk. And it's like, yeah, but it's a fucking doll. Like that, okay, whatever, right? And then
the proportions that she has is so that she looks, because the proportionate like compared to her size, the fabric is a lot thicker than it would be for a normal woman.
For her scale, right. So she looks good in the clothes.
She's supposed to look good in the clothes.
Right? Yeah. No, I know. But they complain and this is old. I remember this as a news clip years ago, like in the 80s, where there was a woman saying Barbie's body is not realistic and a woman like this couldn't actually exist. And and I was too young to like see how batshit insane that was. But now they're looking at a real woman. Margot Robbie is real. That's her body, and they're feeling bad about it. Like it's is it unrealistic? You got it.
I'm pretty sure it's exactly realistic for Robbie.
You cannot win. Well, yeah, she's good. She's doing
and
it.
I suggest you don't watch any TV or movies because it's not like Robbie is unusual for
no, she's not.
Female heroine.
Attractive women are everywhere. In media, especially.
So this is like number 3. Apparently the Barbie movie made this trans woman feel bad about her body. Okay, let's go to number 4.
All right, 1830, so right here. Okay.
It's pretty tiresome. But that's because this isn't really a film about feminism. It's a mainstream film.
Before this, she talks about how Mattel doesn't actually refer to themselves as feminist.
Yeah. Because they should, right? Yeah, because the label's everything, Allison. This goes back to what, when you get into, when I get into discussions with people or I watch content about feminism and people feel the need to they're really protective of the label. They're very protective. Like if I say, well, yeah, I care about women's issues. Oh, then you're a feminist. No, I'm not. But I care about, well, you can't be for equality and not be a feminist. why are you caping for this word? I know why, because it has power, and they know that. That's why she's butthurt, because Mattel didn't want to use the word, because they knew that if they did use the word, it would turn people off. I mean, but they used the word patriarchy like 1,000 times in the movie, so it's not like it wasn't implicit, you know?
Yeah. Oh, I have somebody to thank.
Oh, good.
So,
okay.
I want to thank Hyper Chicken for $100. Thank you, Hyper Chicken.
Thank you.
Which means we have
is too big.
we have $70 to go and 1 hour left. So hopefully we can make it. Once again, that's feedthebadger.com/I. Yeah, it'd be great if I could get the next round of editing funded. And I just wanted to say, okay, so she says that they need to use the word, right? Feminism. Now, feminism, why is it that that's so critical? It's because feminism is a particular approach to equality that always presumes that women are not equal to men, no matter what. Even when they're even if you have, like, I don't know, 3 metrics and women are actually in a better position than men on 2 of them, if that women as a general are not in a better position on the 3rd one, then it's inequality in favor of men. Even though by definition it's actually inequality in favor of women. And the other thing is that once you get inequality in all 3 metrics in favor of women, then they go even more. They go down a level and they say, well, women are a minority of the people who have faced this problem, therefore they should be focused on. Have you noticed that? Like, women are only 10% of the unsheltered, or 5% of the unsheltered homeless. Therefore, they're not being served by the current system and should be focused on herpaderp as victims of unsheltered homelessness. So, say those 3 metrics. Women are in a better situation than men in every single one of those metrics. Then they change the entire focus and they say, well, because women are minorities in these problems, now they're even more underserved.
What's wrong with them trying to reach the widest possible audience? Isn't that what you want to do when you make a piece of art? You want people to see it? Because she's having a problem with the fact that they're afraid that if they use the word feminist, right, it will turn people off, which it fucking should. But they didn't use it, and she thinks, oh, it's just because they're greedy corporations with capitalism, and they want to get the widest possible audience. Well, I'm sorry. Like, are they not supposed to make money? Do you know how much it costs to do this shit? Do you not want Margot Robbie to get paid? Like, like, you know, it's a woman. I'm just saying, like, none of this makes sense. That's all.
Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going.
Right,
she has more to say on the issue of workers' rights.
Yeah.
Audience trying to reach everyone at the same time without saying anything of any real substance.
No, they said something of substance. Feminism. You want to know what they said of substance? They said that the patriarchy creates female utopia, which is 100% true, and that the patriarchy is mostly good, and that women want to complain, but they don't want to actually do anything about it. In fact, if women did not have something to complain about, I think that they would feel less womanly. Okay, let's keep going. I think that those that was one of my. The more that I think about it, that was my biggest takeaway from Barbie. The patriarchy's not perfect, but it's pretty good. And Warren Farrell's a charming and quirky patriarch that's made sure that his Barbies have been taken care of. He's even given them a bunch of eunuchs to step on. You know, so it ultimately, at the end of the day,
you mean Will
what
Ferrell.
Can you really say? Will Ferrell. Yeah, not Warren Farrell. Sorry.
No.
I'm more used to saying that word.
I know.
Warren,
I know. It's okay.
So what can you really say about patriarchy, lady? Really, what can you say? It's even given you breasts.
Well.
Because while the film can call out problems like Barbie and body image, a popular topic which probably everyone has had at least one conversation about, there are other problems they can never confront. A few years ago, China Labour Watch sent undercover investigators into Mattel's factories in China where they make their toys, including Barbies, and they found that life for the women who make Barbie isn't so great.
I'm pausing for the banana because I don't know how crazy this person's going to be about copyright or whatever property. I mean, she's a communist, so she shouldn't care about property, but I guess that she would flag the shit out of us, so, because, they're hypocrites.
For instance, they found that most workers were women and most higher-ups were men. Female workers reported regular verbal abuse and humiliation by line managers. Workers' dormitories housed up to 10 people per room and were infested by fleas, mosquitoes, and other bugs. There was no hot water in the showers, the cold water was dirty, and the toilets had no doors. The food in the cafeterias was served on dirty dishes, and workers found hair and cockroaches in their meals.
I'm just pausing again for the banana. Yeah, sounds like
that's a sweatshop.
That's it sounds like a sweatshop. Sounds like there's a thing. Maybe we shouldn't be I don't know, having China make shit for us. I mean, I'm okay with it.
Well, here's the other thing. Like, if you want your dollar to buy anything, you sort of have to accept this now.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, if your dollar is only going to buy stuff made in the U.S.,
well,
yeah, that's going to be...
I bet if you buy, like, feminist t-shirts and pussy hats and stuff, I bet a lot of those are made in China. Yeah, I bet they're all made in sweatshops. So
yes, all of it is, because that's the system, and you're not really changing it at all. And I wanted to point out to this, like, this is a situation where these workers are living in a horrible circumstance in order to construct goods for the West. And this is something I pointed out, I think, on one of the shows we did with Tilder. If you look at women's behavior in the West in terms of selecting mates, they want men to earn twice as much as they do now. Now, why would you want a man who makes twice as much? Well, so you can buy twice as much. So in other words, if men were able to accommodate women's desires in their partners, so if men, as Jordan Peterson basically says, women get to have whatever desires they want. Men need to live up to them. If men actually lived up to Western women's desires in a partner, we would need another Earth of resources. Like, literally, women are at the potentially at the limit of what the Earth can provide. Probably, I mean, if we started to look more into conservation, I am sort of also a greenie, but I've always found it really disturbing that the one thing that won out of all of the other environmental issues was the one thing that, leads to more taxes. What a surprise. But regardless, if women really got what they wanted tomorrow from men, we would literally need another Earth to accommodate their material desires.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when are we going to address that? When are we going to address that Western feminism actually, and it doesn't even just lead to the subjugation of women in sweatshops. It also, when you look at the literal financials of feminist NGOs when it comes to domestic violence, they are literally using battered women as a cash cow. All right? Yeah. When are we going to address all of this crap? Which, incidentally, falls quite neatly under the rubric of the evil queen in Snow White, who has competition with another woman and uses her as a base resource for herself. You notice that? And how we no longer want to have that conversation? No, Western women are just going to be allowed to act like the evil queen from Snow White towards every other woman on the planet. Okay, so I'm sort of sympathetic with her on this issue. Like, you're not doing much of anything for women overall. And feminism doesn't do much of anything for women overall. It's an advocacy movement for itself. And right now, it is a shield for corporate and government excess and overreach.
Yeah.
I'll just lay it right out. Corporate, government, and feminist NGO and feminist charity overreach. They're using women as a shield.
Mm-hmm.
For their own bullshit. Okay.
Yep. All right. I got a Rumble rant from Oikinwoi. I don't know. You just tell me how to pronounce that shit, because I'm really getting sick of struggling with it. Gives us $1 and says, eat the bugs, totally normal working conditions of the future. I mean, if you're going to cape for China in every other instance, then you can't say shit about this. So, she doesn't even listen. Well, she doesn't necessarily, but
She does. What she doesn't mention the flattery of China with the lines and the
yeah. No, for sure.
This movie actually is reinforcing China's territorial ambitions in, like, I think it's the Asian Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll look up my geography. My geography in the area is weak. Sorry, guys. But yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Well, I was gonna say, like, you know, you don't have to buy from China. Like, I got a new. Well, I had this. It's like a leash, one of those retractable leashes. You know, where it comes on a spool and you pull. It lets this.
South China Sea. Sorry, South China.
This lets the dog, you know, get some distance, so Jojo can go sniff some stuff, and I don't have to, like, be right behind him. It's a retractable leash, and Lindsay's on this program at Amazon. It's called Amazon Vine, and what it is they send you free things, but you do have to pay taxes on them, and you have to write a review on it. And this is so that people who are, like, you know, presenting a new product or something like that, they can get people to try their product and then use the reviews, if they're good reviews, to sell the product. It's kind of ingenious. It's a good idea. And so she got a retractable leash through Vine. And the retractable leash through Vine that she got, it turns out to be a lower quality one that is made in China. But the one that we had before, which I got, like, way back, like, I got it with my old dog. So I've had this thing for, like, probably at least 15 years, and it's still really good. Like, it's, you know, it's sturdy. I never had a problem with it, and it was made in Germany. So buy German is what I'm saying. You know, it just or look, because I'm sure that there are people in other parts of the world that are trying to, like, get eyes on their things, and the fact is that one probably costs a little bit more. I don't even remember how much it was, but I've had it for so long and it's still good. So anyway, the Germans were good at one thing. It was making shit.
All right.
OIC would work. OIC. Thank you, OIC. And he gives us $1 and says that. All right. Thank you. Let's should I play more of this or
Sure, yeah, let's finish it up.
All right.
The pay was so low that workers had to work illegal amounts of overtime if they wanted to make a living wage. They described production targets as inhumane, and they were not provided with safety equipment even when working with dangerous materials. Female workers reported a climate of frequent and trivialized sexual harassment. When Mattel was made...
Harassment. Of course they did. It comes back to men, doesn't it? Even in
Yeah,
China.
well, I'm actually thinking the line managers are probably women, and a lot of the harassment is coming from that, but... You know, whatever. I mean, honestly, who knows? But yeah, this is. It's not like feminism really cares about women. Sorry, newsflash, lady.
Yeah, really.
Feminism is a sales pitch, and also it was originally coined by a man, and its basic premise was constructed by a man, and now it's a sales pitch, and they do not care about you, and they don't care about women. They certainly don't care about men, but you know, nobody expects them to, really. But what was a black pill for me was that they don't care about women. They're just going to use you to make money, and that's it. And you guys just keep falling for it over and over and over again.
Yep.
Okay, because they got your number, ladies. They got your number.
Yeah.
They understand it's not the nail.
True.
Keep going.
All right. So should I jump to number 5 or play a little bit more of this one?
Let's jump to number 5.
All right. Number 5 is it's okay. Number 20 is 21 minutes in, so we'll just go to right here. All right. Here we go.
They know exactly what's going on at their factories, but that won't stop them demanding higher production targets for lower production costs. That's just business, baby. You can't girl boss without just a little bit of labor exploitation.
Yes. And actually, so 4 and 5 is bleeding into each other. Yes.
Yeah.
This is about women exploiting other women and men. Well, I mean, and the men that they have influence over. Okay, that's what it's about. That's what feminism is. It's why I keep telling people, women owe feminism nothing. Feminism owes women everything. Everything. every bit of its ill-gotten gains.
Yep.
Okay, every bit of its influence, because it says that the only reason that men care about women is because of feminism. That's the implication. And it's absolute bullshit.
Yep.
That feminism did not create men caring about women or women's concerns. And that people have said, well, why should women care if men care about them? Well, because who else are you going to beseech to address your concerns when you're constantly rendering yourself victims of everything? Like, literally, you think that you are a victim of everything. You have no power in society. Who are you going to ask to address your problems if that's the case? If you're not willing to look at where you have power and build out from there, who are you who's going to help you with your problems? So you, by definition, have to care about men. So feminism says, or at least implies, that it made men care about women. That if without feminism, women would live in a world where they're constantly being beaten and raped by their husbands and fathers and sons. That's the implication. Well, it's bullshit. Feminism didn't create men caring about women. Feminism didn't create men protecting and providing for women. Feminism exploits men's desire to protect and provide for women, to construct an ideological position, a political, a way of creating political coercion, a way of developing money, all at the expense of actually addressing the women's issues that they say that they advocate for, but instead ruthlessly exploit. All right? That is big box feminism. And all of you who buy into it are being Pied Pipered to your own detriment.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're embracing a nonsense view of history that destroys your sense of well-being. Look at the numbers on women's sense of happiness and well-being. They're declining year after year. It's getting worse and worse and worse. Okay? This has been the highest level of misery among women. This is the thing. Feminism is consuming your well-being. It's giving you back misery. And in exchange for what? What?
Yeah.
What? Women have always worked. Women have always had a say in their government. Women have always been respected as members of their families. They used to be even more respected as wise women and matrons and babushkas. That role is completely gone. Now every woman is basically scrambling for the rest of her life to look like a 16-year-old child instead of just growing into a role of wisdom. Okay? Or a role of strength as a matron. The only thing left to you is the role of wretch. Beautiful, useless victim. And that's all you scramble for. It's why it's why this whole beauty ideal is so devastating. Well, you don't have any other virtue. You don't have Snow White's virtues. Snow White will have her virtues until she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
She will still be kind. She will still be willing to help someone in need. She'll still have her bravery and courage in the face of adversity. But a feminist woman, once she hits the wall, she no longer has the power that makes her valuable as a wretch.
Yep.
As someone who constantly beseeches others to help her. Anyway, so we gave up all of that sense of well-being, all of that development, all of our archetypes, for what? An increasing level of misery and despair, which feminism then says, yeah, blame it on patriarchy. Really? Do you know that in most traditional societies, they do have roles for women who are older than 25? You know, in most traditional societies, they don't actually put Barbie as the height of feminine beauty. You know that?
Mm-hmm.
In most traditional societies, women have the wherewithal to actually be higher. The representation in STEM is actually higher than in Western societies. Like, all of this stuff, they're doing better than we are. In terms of women's well-being, they're doing better than we are. In terms of representation in STEM, they're doing better than we are. Often in terms of wage gap, they're doing better than we are. In terms of women's, did I say misery? Yes, they're doing better. And so what is feminism giving to women? The answer is fucking all. Except misery. And women always had the ability to arrange their lives in a way that made them comfortable and happy, unless they were living in war-torn countries or devastating theocracies or whatever, in which everyone was miserable, or communism. Incidentally, communism is the closest you'll ever get to the Handmaiden's Tale, by the way. Someone told me that. It was communism in Hungary is the closest he's ever seen to getting to the Handmaiden's Tale. So there you go. Keep pushing socialism and communism, and also radical transactivism, because radical transactivists will remove the kind of spiritual value that women have as a result of being mothers. Then the womb just becomes another way of serving your communist overlord or overladies. But anyway, so what is it that feminism is actually giving women? It certainly isn't giving women the femtopia. It has absolutely no steps for that, aside from maybe asking it from Will Ferrell as the patriarch. All right, let's get back to this. Sorry.
All right, that's fine. All right, 2109. A little bit more.
The day after watching the film, my co-writer Ada and I both were feeling a little down, and after a while we started talking about what was bothering us, and we found that we were feeling bad about our bodies.
This is the body thing. Okay, well.
Yeah.
So
I just wanted to do the girl boss. You can't do a bit of girl. You can't girl boss with a bit of labor exploitation. Yeah, you can't do feminism without exploiting other women.
Yeah.
That's the great irony in all of this.
So the next thing is 22. This is part B of the.
This is where it is. Yeah.
Plastic wrap in workers' rights thing.
No. It's part B of you can't girl boss with a little bit of women. Exploiting other women.
A little bit. Yeah. Okay. Let's play that.
Women face every day. They want us to feel that Barbie's not an it, not a successful brand, not an intellectual
okay.
property.
Let me explain what's going on here.
Yeah.
This is 5B. All right. So she's discovering that Mattel as a corporation is using Barbie as a shield to reject claims of being misogynist. So instead of saying that Barbie promotes body image problems in girls, they say that you're just being mean to Barbie. Well, yes, that's what a lot of governments and corporations do. They use women as shields.
That's literally what you do.
Yeah. Well, also government. When feminists say that without government, men would be horrible exploiters of women, they have constructed the most powerful argument for justifying government overreach. There is no more powerful argument than if government didn't exist, women would be horribly oppressed by their menfolk. This is the ground zero. The fat boy of justifying government intrusion into everyone's lives. As long as you have that narrative, you will eventually live in a police state. No offense, but you cannot have that narrative and have a free society. Eventually it will end up being a nightmare of authoritarian control, because nobody can fight against it. It's if the government wasn't able to seize your property and search it at will, you might be able to oppress your womenfolk. Okay, as long as that narrative exists in society, you are living in a proto police state. Okay, that's just the way it is, and that's how government justifies itself, and it's also how corporations shield themselves from criticism. She's going through how Mattel is shielding itself from criticism by hiding behind Barbie itself. So any criticism of Mattel has become criticism of Barbie. That's what she's saying, and it's actually a brilliant point, but she doesn't take it to its logical conclusion and realize that that's what feminism is. It's a shield for government. It's a shield for corporations. It's a shield for feminist charities that want to use women's suffering to make money without doing anything to prevent or reduce that suffering. And in fact, embracing stuff that most likely will lead to more raped and beaten women. Okay, let's keep going.
All right. Okay.
But a she, a victim, a person, a woman. She may be selling you cosmetics for smooth, firm skin, but only because she too has felt the shame of cellulite. The film is a great ad, but is it feminist?
Okay, lady, again, you remember when I said that the only thing left to women in the feminist conjecture is wretch? Like, aren't creating any virtues. You're not becoming greater or better. You're not developing yourself as people. All you're doing is embracing being victims of everything. And honestly, the only thing that makes you interesting is your looks when you're a victim of everything. The only thing that gives you power is your looks when you're a victim of everything. Feminism has constructed the beauty ideal. And these male-driven corporations are coming in and allowing you to continue to be the luminous wretch for as long as humanly possible, but you chose the role, lady. Well, maybe not you, but feminism chose the role for you. Luminous wretch. That's all women get out of their lives. Yep. And you cannot blame men for allowing you to occupy the role as long as possible, for creating the means to prop up you in that role as long as possible, to remove those wrinkles so you retain the eternal, the beauty of the eternal, helpless, empty wretch that feminism says that you are. Okay, I'm done.
That's all there is. I think that's all the clips.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean,
Okay, well, I have another thank you.
Oh, good, yeah, cool. Do you think we got there yet?
No, we're about 20 from there, and I think we're down to, let me see, 10 minutes?
10 minutes? Okay, but how far away are we?
Well, I actually don't know when the precise rollover is. I think it's just 10 minutes to get that $20.
Okay.
So if you're out there and listening,
$20. We're super close, guys.
feedthebadger.com/IEYE.
Okay.
Only $20 to the current goal. So yeah, please help out there. And I have a thank you to give to. Just a second. I think it was the Great Indoors who gave us $50 with that super chow, that previous super chow. Thank you. All right. So, do you have any final thoughts on all of this? I think, honestly, yes, we're talking about the Barbie movie again, but really we're talking about,
it's
what
not
we've
really
always been talking about.
Yeah, it's not really about the Barbie movie. Think about it like, this is what I think. I think that every time there's some new cultural thing that happens, feminists have something to say about it. And they're extremely, they use manipulative language, they cry victim, they do all the usual things, and it's like I said, it's never going to end because there's always something new happening, and that means there's always something new for feminists to complain about. So we're basically just responding to, like, I guess you could say, the framing, and also what I think the takeaway for me from this is what I've also been saying is that these people are never happy. Because no matter, like, the Barbie movie is pretty feminist, and the books you've been reading are far worse, and I bet this woman would complain about those. So I'm saying, like, it's never enough because it's
not about the nail.
It's not about the nail. There is no satisfaction. Embrace the paradox, whatever you want to call it. So super frustrating, hard to, like, wrestle with, but it is our reality. Can I mention the thing that I was trying to tell you about that you were distracted by and couldn't listen to?
Good. Go ahead.
All right. So, there's a little bit of backstory here, but, like, for any of you guys that are patrons or hang out on our Discord or whatever, for a long time, I mean, like, years, we used to do these shows in Google Hangouts, and then when it was over, we'd bring the patrons in and they'd hang out with us in the after shows. You remember that, Allison? Google Hangouts? Okay. Well, we wouldn't, like, stream those, but we would just hang out in Google Hangouts after the stream went offline. So going back as far as that, we used to joke about running people would like to watch us play a game of Dungeons and Dragons with all of the badgers. So it'd be you and Hannah and Karen and me and Randomer Cam, and so on. And for a long time, people would bug me. They'd be like, "Are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it?" And I basically was like, I don't think it's ever going to happen because we're in different time zones, spread out all over the globe. It's just one of these things that is not likely to happen. However, there was this video game that just launched called Baldur's Gate 3, which is supposed to be really great in a lot of ways. And I thought, well, maybe when that game comes out, what I can do is I can build all the badgers as D&D adventurers with the classes and the races and try to get the appearance as close as possible or whatever, and then play online, stream it to you guys. You guys can like give feedback, we can talk about it, whatever, have some fun. It would just be fun. Unfortunately, it turns out that Baldur's Gate 3 doesn't let you do that. It has co-op, but I think it doesn't really let you play like as one player with multiple characters. So I was kind of bummed out, and then I was just kind of looking around in Steam because my soundboard thing that I use,
wow,
it uses a Steam app called Sound something, I forget, and Soundpad. And so I opened up Steam and I saw Neverwinter Nights 2 was on my library because I bought it. Well, I didn't buy it, but I bought this package of like a shit ton of games from this one development studio that was closing down, and it sold everything for really cheap. And so I just bought the whole package because it came with stuff that I was interested in. And I didn't realize that this was there. So I was like, oh, maybe I can do that in Neverwinter Nights 2. And even though this game is older, and it looks a little older, it totally works, and I can do it. So what I'm letting you guys know is I'm planning on doing a session on Honey Badger Arcade, where I will build the party, and I want you guys to join me there for that, so you can help me go through the motions. I already know like what Allison's class is gonna be and what Karen's class is gonna be. Yeah, I already know it. So here's what I'm gonna do.
What's my class?
Okay, let me tell you how I'm gonna set it up. Okay, so Hannah's gonna be a warlock because she has like a background in Wicca, and I think it's a good fit. So she's gonna be a warlock. I don't know what the race is gonna be yet. It might just be human. I haven't decided. Karen is definitely going to be a berserker, like a barbarian. What, right? I think they allow that. I haven't looked into it, but Karen's going to be a barbarian. I think you're going to be a paladin. That's what I'm thinking. Really? You're going to be. Yeah. So you and Karen are going to be the front line people, the paladin and the barbarian. And Dr. Random McCam is going to be a bard because of course he is, right? And I don't know how many you can have in a party, so I don't know what the number is, but I'll be a cleric, and I think that it's a cleric wizard. So we need like, I don't know, like I got to figure out if I'm going to put in Prim Reaper or Lauren, and maybe I'll do both if I can, and I'll give them, different classes too. Maybe Prim will be like a druid or something, or a necromancer, I don't know, and figure something out for Lauren. I need a rogue, so that might work. And then what I'll do is I'll play and some, because there's all these like custom made modules, so you can do a ton of stuff with it, right? Because this game's been out for years, and the new one, it just came out, so there isn't a lot of content out there. But most importantly, it doesn't let you build a party as of yet. So that's what I want to do. I think that would be a lot of fun. Are you okay with being a paladin? Because people are asking if that's what you're. Let me. I'll put a poll in. And I will ask. I don't know how many options I can give, but do you not like paladins? I think that you're the most sort of morally. I don't know. It just seems appropriate to me, but I don't know. You could be a ranger too if you're like into the nature stuff.
Paladin. Well, I guess that's because
here's the thing about rangers is they get like a pet, so we can put a dog, like a wolf or something in there. if the game has it, yeah, you could do that. So that's another option. Let's see.
I don't know, like what's the logic behind paladin? Are you putting in a poll right now?
Paladins, I did put a poll in. I'll let the people decide. Well, paladins are like they're like the very, very like morally, upright guys, and they protect, and they're kind of tanky, you know, and so there's that, and then the fighter is basically like a well-rounded. They know how to fight, so they get in there and wrestle. The Rangers are, you know, they're based on Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, but they tend to be like guys in the wild. And the Rogue is they're basically like thieves. They have a lot of skills and stuff like that. It's based on 3.5 D&D. I don't know if that matters, but let me know what you guys think. They want. Shaman King says Allison would be a Dark Knight. Well, there are I think there is a type of paladin that's kind of like on the darker side, so they don't necessarily have to be like goody two shoes, but that comes down to your choices. So I will figure this out. We'll do a stream on it though. So subscribe to Honey Badger Arcade. Let me look here if I have the link in there. I don't. I'll have to add it.
Okay,
What?
I have a thank you to give, so.
Good. Did we make it?
Yeah, we did. Tom and Nader gives us $25, which gets us over. So thank you. Woohoo!
Oh, woo! Thank you. Let me see if I have something here. We'll do this. Okay.
All right, awesome. Till next time. Till next month. Thank you everyone. Hopefully this will either go to starting to work on the line edits, which is the next really expensive form of editing, which is where they will make sure that I'm not using ridiculous phrasing. That's where they brutalize your authorial voice, where you get beaten up in terms of your word choice and sentence structure and everything else. Right now, I'm waiting on the results of my developmental edit, which should be coming in soon, and it might need another pass for the developmental edit, which probably won't be as expensive as the first one. So once again, thank you all for helping me out, and once again, this will either go to line editing in the future, but I'll have to probably do more fundraising for that, or it can go for a second pass in the developmental edit. We'll see where my poor wretched beaten up manuscript is at the end of this. So once again, thank you to everybody who helped out. Let me do a quick run through of who helped out today. Thank you to Hyper Chicken, The Great Indoors, Tominator, and DSC, I believe.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's everybody. Let's see. Let me go through here. Oh yeah, DSC. That was that. And Vesa. Sorry, I almost missed you. Thank you, Vesa. You're the first one in.
Vesa. Okay.
Nice.
Okay,
right.
and back to you, Brian. Oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot the last thing, which is if you are listening to this after the show has concluded, you can still send us a thank you. If you enjoy the content, you want to make sure we keep doing it. You want to give us a sense that we aren't screaming into the void, which is always really wonderful. You can go to feedthebadger.com/justthetip and give us a tip. You will be able to avoid YouTube's sieve of censorship, and we will get the full benefit of whatever moolahs you want to send our way. So once again, that's feedthebadger.com/justthetip. You can do this so anytime after the show if you just want to say thank you, which is always appreciated, always makes our day. So once again, feedthebadger.com/justthetip. Back to you, Brian.
All right, I did get another super chow. I just went and checked really quick since we went through all the time codes. And Great Indoors, thank you so much. He gave us 50 and then I assume 100 or 10, 50 and 10. So thank you, Great Indoors, for that. And he says, hearing Brian talk about how women will use any kind of communication device to bitch and moan about men makes me think of Emily Eifler and her inane question at the Oculus Rift event. What is Oculus's approach to their clear gender gap and how they're not going to port that into VR? End quote. Question includes supreme smug face and background seal clapping. What? Did we see that? I mean, I went to a VR conference years ago with Jonathan. Do you remember that, Allison? And that happened there. This was like when it wasn't as mainstream as it is now. It was still, like it was starting to sort of creep into the mainstream, but like it wasn't as mainstream, and there was definitely people going, oh, this needs to be feminist, you know. There was one where you had to experience what it's like to be a woman and you don't have any control or anything, and like men hit on you and shit. Oh god, it was so cringe. Oh god.
Well, that's, like I said, it's women in the feminist framework are wretches.
Yeah.
They have absolutely no capability of doing anything. They don't even have the capability of honestly, like as you said, Snow White was the main character. She
Yeah.
was the one that pushed the entire plot along.
She did.
So she had capability, she had ability, and she had agency. Women aren't even allowed to have that. And they thumb their nose up at the social messaging of something like Snow White, and I'm like, well, you mean that you actually regard the average woman as, you know, Snow White has hands and legs and thoughts and the ability to make decisions. You regard the average woman as having no hands, no thoughts, no legs, and no ability to make decisions for herself. Unless they're feminist. Like, what the hell is that? You're basically like boxing Helena. I don't know if you know that movie. It's basically a movie about a guy who surgically removes a woman's arms and legs. I'm like, wow, that's a metaphor for feminism.
Oh wow.
Like, no shit. Like, what is a woman in the feminist framework but a wretch with absolutely no capability to do anything for herself?
Yep.
A victim in every single circumstance.
It is sad.
Yeah. What kind of messaging, like what does that messaging do to women? If you're thinking that the messaging around Snow White is somehow harmful, why? Because she has too much agency as a feminine creature, as a person of femininity. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox.
All right. So
Thank you all.
Yeah, thanks for everything. We're gonna close it out here. Once again, subscribe to honeybadgerarcade.com. Or not .com, just Honey Badger Arcade on YouTube. And I will set up a stream maybe next week for that. We'll get started and have you guys all involved in character creation. So if you guys like this video, please smash like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment, let us know what you guys think about what we discussed in the show today. Links to the full video are in the descriptions. You can check it out for yourself. And please, please, please share this video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on today's episode of Maintaining Frame. And we'll talk to you all in the next video.
Men's rights activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have like a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.